I myself have done it by myself several years ago. The requirement has been slightly modified since then and improved. But I think once you have done it in a successful manner, the next project application seems to be very much easier. Please let us everyone help together, try to do it from today. Today, what I have learned are what and how is Rotary International assisting our service project. The second one, detailed processes on feeding global grant application. 3, concepts behind and supporting global grants through a lot of questions and answers. Thank you very much, RGO Jennifer Berg, RRSC Leslie again, for your precious time and guidance all the way from United States and Malaysia. Thank you, the organizing committee led by DGND, for today's event, of course including SAA and the staff behind the scenes. Thank you all of you, DGs from District 3330 and 3340, and fellow Rotarians for coming to participate in this opportunity. I hope everyone has been inspired to move your projects ahead. Now, please allow me to close today's session. Thank you very much.
ภาคของเรามีกี่ประเทศ 4 ประเทศ ประเทศไทย กัมพูชา เมียนมา เวียดนาม สามารถเป็น international partner ได้ เพราะว่า multiple country in a same district I'm right You are correct Okay so this is the one เราสามารถ take note ได้ ข้อต่อไปที่เราจะดูคือเราจะเลือกระหว่างภาคหรือสโมสรบางท่านไม่รู้เลยคลิกแค่ภาคเพราะว่าท่านนักครินทร์บอกว่าให้ทำโครงการนี้เราก็เลือกเป็นภาคขอจำไว้ก็คือภาค3350ไม่ทำ district sponsor project เราต้องเลือกคลับอย่างเดียวเข้าใจนะส่วนที่เหลือมันง่ายอยู่แล้วที่เหลือเราก็เลิกเพราะว่าบางสโมสรแม้แต่สโมสรผมเองก็บอกว่าหาสโมสรไม่เจอหลังจากเราเลิกโฮสต์แล้วเราไปเลิก international เขาคิดว่าเป็นสโมสรของตัวเองไม่ใช่เลิก primary host แล้วเราต้องเลิก international แล้วเราจำเป็นต้องรู้อยู่ภาคไหน yes
ขออนุญาตค่ะ
กับ
ถ้าเข้าใน My Rotary แล้วจะไม่เจอแกนเซ็นเตอร์ค่ะ
อะไรครับ
เข้าใน My Rotary แล้วจะไม่เจอแกนเซ็นเตอร์ค่ะ
อ๋อไม่เจอแกนเซ็นเตอร์คำถามที่ดีครับเพราะว่าตอนนี้หน้าของ My Rotary มีเปลี่ยนแปลงคุณเข้าไปที่ Foundation แล้ว Apply a Grant มี Sub Menu อยู่ที่ Apply a Grant คุณต้องคลิกเข้าไปนะครับส่วนรายละเอียดนี้จะเข้ายังไงจะมีเวิร์กช็อปจัดด้วยท่านนักครินทร์หน้าที่ของ DRSC ท่านไหนที่ไม่เข้าใจโทรหาท่านนักครินทร์ตี 2อย่างได้เลยแต่รับสายไม่รับสายผมไม่ทราบเราจะท่านนักครินทร์เทคโนตเราต้องให้เวิร์กช็อปเพราะว่าบรรยายคือบรรยายบัดเวลาสโมสรที่ยังไม่เคยทำแกรนด์เขาจะไม่รู้อยู่ตรงไหนซ่อนอยู่ข้างในอยู่ในซับเมนูแล้วภาคเราทุกคำถามใน Grand Center รู้สึกพี่สีฟ้ามีแปลเป็นภาษาไทยแล้วถูกต้องไหมครับมีแปลเป็นภาษาไทยแล้วเราสามารถ circulate ให้เขาสโมสรเพราะว่าบางท่านจะไม่ถนัดภาษาอังกฤษเราก็เอาภาษาไทยมาดูต่อไปที่สำคัญทำไมไม่ไป
ทำงานเช้ามา
สไลด์ไม่ชอบผม ช้าหน่อยเนาะสิ่งที่เราต้องผมรู้ปัญหาตลอดคืออะไรอัตราแลกเปลี่ยนอัตราแลกเปลี่ยนทุกท่านบอกว่าเดือนนี้ที่ผมเขียน33เดือนหน้าอาจจะเปลี่ยนเป็น34ภายในเดือนหนึ่งหรือลงไป32สโมสรที่ไม่เข้าใจเขาจะเปลี่ยนเรื่อยๆอย่างนี้ไม่มีสิ้นจบไม่ต้องไปเปลี่ยนไม่ต้องไปเปลี่ยนเพราะว่าในบัดเจ็ตเรามี contingency budget ที่สามารถรับที่ difference ของ exchange rate นะครับ signage บางท่านเข้าใจ banner ที่ไป handover สามารถเคลมได้ขอโทษทีเคลมไม่ได้ครับไม่สามารถเคลมได้คือ signage คือเราทำ signage ที่ให้คนเข้ามาในโครงการอย่างนี้เคลมได้เคลียร์เนาะเพราะว่าเวลาที่โทษนะครับอะไรนะครับ
คุณท่านบอกว่าที่ signage คืออะไรเคลมได้อันนี้เล่ารายละเอียดนิดหน่อยได้ไหม
โอเค signage สมมุติเรากำลังประชาสัมพันธ์ที่ให้คนเข้ามาในโครงการของเรา participate ในโครงการของเราอย่างนี้อยู่ในบัดเจ็ตได้ signage ที่ใส่อยู่ในเครื่องสามารถเคลมได้ก็คือสโมสรโรตารี่เสียมเองอย่างนี้เคลมได้นะใส่อยู่ในแล้ว handover project GG number อะไร handover ขอโทษที่เคลมไม่ได้ครับมันไม่เข้าข่ายอยู่ตรงนั้นนะครับก็ overall คืออย่างนี้แนะนำให้สมาชิกทุกท่านเข้าไปใน Grand Center ลองมนุเวทลองดูมีคำถามอะไรโทรหาใครท่านนักเรียนอย่าโทรหาเจสันนะต้องโทรหาท่านนักเรียนเพราะว่าท่านเป็นDRFC โอเค so this is the overview ที่มีเปลี่ยนแปลงใหม่แล้วบางท่านห่วงมากเพราะว่ามีคำถามตลอดมาถามเครื่องกรองน้ำสมาชิกขายเครื่องกรองน้ำสามารถซื้อจากสมาชิกได้หรือไม่ได้หรือไม่ได้เพราะว่ามัน conflict of interest ได้นะมั่นใจได้ถูกต้องครับเราต้องสามารถซื้อจากสมาชิกได้เราต้องเขียนสมาชิกท่านนี้เป็น vendor แล้วท่านนี้ไม่สามารถอยู่ใน committee จำไว้นะสมมุติพี่สันติขายเครื่องกรองน้ำกรุงเทพสโมสรกรุงเทพทำโครงการเครื่องกรองน้ำพี่สันติไม่สามารถอยู่ใน committee ของ global grant นี้เคลียร์แล้วนะ primary contact เวลาเราปฏิบัติหน้าที่แล้ว primary contact ที่ terminate จากสโมสร resign ทำยังไงปิด report ไม่ได้ทำยังไงทราบไหมครับไม่ทราบง่ายนิดเดียวหน้าที่นายกสโมสรนายกปัจจุบันสามารถเขียนอีเมลให้กับ Jennifer Bird I'm saying if the primary contact in the midst of the project resign club president can write to you giving a reason the primary contact has actually resigned from the club and assign a new primary contact สามารถ assign ใหม่ได้ส่วนรายละเอียดที่เหลือ budget supporting document ทำให้รายละเอียดเพราะว่าตอนผมเป็น DFC ผมเห็นสโมสรล่ำซ้ำเวลาล่ำซ้ำมาขอโทษทีผมจะไม่อนุมัติเพราะว่าเราไม่รู้ล่ำซ้ำคืออะไรผมเชื่อว่าท่านนักเรียนเหมือนกันเราต้อง break down เราต้อง break down ชัดเจน in Excel form ให้กับท่าน DRFC พิจารณา ไม่ได้จับผิดหรอกแค่อยากช่วยทุกท่านตรวจอันไหนเข้าข่ายอันไหนไม่เข้าข่ายเคลียร์นะครับแค่นี้เพราะว่าเวลาเหลือน้อยเราช่วงบ่ายคุยกันอีกทีหนึ่งกับ President ลาออกก็ไม่มีปัญหาเพราะว่า President ลาออกก็จะมี President คนต่อไปที่จะมารับหน้าที่แนะนำให้ผู้ว่าการภาคเพราะผู้ว่าการภาคอยู่เฉยๆมานานแล้ว เพราะว่าเวลาเปลี่ยนที่นายกผู้ว่าการภาคกับ DRFC สามารถ justify ได้เช่นเดียวกันเขียนหา Jennifer but they are asking if the club president resign how that's simple there will be a new president coming in and just let the DG and DRFC certify that he is the new president นะทุกอย่างมีคำตอบไม่ยาก global grant is not as difficult as what you think yes คุณสวย
ขออนุญาตขออีเมลของเจนนิเฟอร์ด้วยได้ไหมคะ
อีเมลของใคร jennifer.burks@rotary.org I'm right JENNIFER dot B for boy ERG at rotary.org okay later Jennifer will show you yes ไม่ได้เพราะว่าเวลาเหลือน้อยผมจะให้เจนนิเฟอร์ตอบเพราะว่าช่วงบ่ายเรายังมีเวลาเป็นชั่วโมงนะขออภัยด้วยครับโอเคเจนนิเฟอร์ the floor is yours
Okay. So let's talk about some of the features on the Grant Center landing page. You can use the grant search button to find all the global grants and district grants that have been sponsored by your district, whether or not your club is involved. You can search for grants by number, title, or area of focus. After entering the search criteria, click the filter button, and a list of grants will pop up. You can see the menus at the top, help you navigate around the Grant Center. You choose My Grants to see all of the grants that you're involved in, or you go to My Actions to see the grants that you're involved in that require some kind of action from you, for example, your authorization. Finally, we get to the exciting part, starting an application. To start a global grant application, go to Apply for a Grant, choose Global Grant from the list, and then click Let's Begin. That will bring you to step 1, basic information. Start by telling us your project's name, what type of project it is. By that, I mean the activity type. Is it a humanitarian project, a vocational training team, or scholarship? Most likely you're going to be choosing humanitarian project. You can click on the question mark icons throughout the application for important information. And use the Save and Continue button to move to the next step. But first we're going to click on the Add Primary Contact and see what happens. Oh, I didn't take it there. Okay. That will bring you to this screen. On this screen, you will make some important decisions. The person that is starting the application will automatically be made the primary contact. The primary contact should be someone who will remain in this position for the life of the project. They should be prepared to complete tasks in the Grant Center and communicate with the foundation about the grant. Now it's asking you to choose whether you are the host or the international partner. Project activities that are taking place in your country, then you are the host. If the grant activities are taking place outside of your country, then you are the international partner. Now, the next thing it's asking for is if your project is district or club sponsored. This question sometimes causes some confusion. I think because we use the word sponsor. Here we're not talking about who's financially supporting the grant, we're talking about who will be directly implementing the project. In most cases, your project sponsor is going to be your Rotary Club, not your district. The reason the answer to this question is so important is that it determines who will be asked to be the legal authorizer on the grant and who will have direct control over the bank account. Club-sponsored grant means club-controlled bank account. District-sponsored grant means district-controlled project bank account. Since you already told the system that you are the host, it is automatically identifying the other primary contact as the international, but you still need to say if the grant will be sponsored by the district or the club. If everyone on the grant committee is from the same club, then most likely it is also club-sponsored. Sorry, I have a problem with my ear. I'm from the air, maybe I still have a pop, my ear needs to pop. Okay, let's see. Okay, at this point, you will notice the Grant Center now assigns your project a grant number. As you complete the steps, you'll notice that the check marks appear next to their labels and completed sections will be highlighted in dark blue. Incomplete sections will remain gray, and you can click on the pencil to edit the steps that you've already completed. Let's talk briefly about grant committee members. The requirement is for a grant committee of at least 3 members from each of the primary partners. The 3 members are the primary contact plus 2 additional committee members. For club-sponsored grants, all members of the grant committee must be from the same club. For district-sponsored grants, the grant committee can be anyone in your district. If you have more people that you would like to include on the grant committee, if they're in your club, you can just continue to add them as many as you like. However, we also have another place to list additional partners, which we'll see later. In order to be able to add someone to a committee, they will have to have been logged into My Rotary at least once. So if you are looking through the list and trying to find a club member in your club and you can't find them, most likely it's that they haven't registered for My Rotary yet. After each step, you'll use the Save and Continue button to move to the next step. You can also use the skip to skip a step and return to it later. If you save a step that you haven't supplied all the necessary information, a banner will tell you that more information is needed. The incomplete sections will remain highlighted in gray, and the banner will remain until all of the information in that step has been provided. A few other items to note. In each step, you're going to want to hit the Save and Continue button to save your work. But throughout the process, you can also click the Save and Exit button. Then you can always return and start your work on the application again where you left off. Please don't exit by clicking on the X at the top to close the screen. It won't save your work, and it may keep the grant signed out to you for editing. Now, what do I mean signed out for editing? Since the application is designed to be a collaborative tool, only one person can edit the contents of the application at a time. Clicking the save and exit will open the application up to someone else to be able to edit it. Okay, so far we covered step 1, basic information, and we covered step 2, committee members. There are 12 steps in all. You will notice that once you complete a step, it changes from gray to dark blue, but you do not necessarily need to complete them in order. You can reach a step, if you reach a step that you're not ready to complete, you can click on skip and you can move to the next step. Step 3 is project overview. This is really just a summary description of what you will be doing for your project. We're going to ask for a lot more detail about your project later, so this really can be just a high-level summary. Step 4, choosing the area of focus. A lot of projects could be seen as having some effect on all of the areas of focus. But generally what I recommend is for you to select a primary area of focus that your project is going to address. Maybe a secondary area of focus, but if you're clicking 3, 4, 5 areas of focus, this is probably not good. Measuring success. You will not be able to fill this section out if you haven't selected an area of focus step first. But you're going to identify the goals under the area of focus that your project aligns with and select measures for your project. You must select at least one of the provided measures, but you can also create your own. It's important to think about these at the beginning of your project because you may need to collect some baseline data at the beginning of your project that will serve to show the change directly created by your project at the end when you measure your success. Step 6 is location and dates. This one's pretty straightforward. Just remember that this is not the location of your club, this is the location of the project. Step 7 is where you identify any cooperating organizations you may be working with. Sometimes this is also the benefiting organization. When you enter the name of the organization, the system will prompt you to upload a memorandum of understanding with that organization. Please try to use the Foundation's template for memorandum of understanding because it contains certain language that we need legally. So please use the template. The partners section is where you can list other clubs or individuals who are helping you with your project. So for example, if it is a club-sponsored grant and someone from another club is helping with the project, you can list them here. The terms and conditions allow for up to 2 volunteer travelers on a humanitarian project, but there are some important things to remember. It's only necessary to fill out this section if the grant is paying for someone's international travel. If you're not paying for their international travel, don't even bother filling it out. The second thing to think about when you're looking at this is that volunteer travelers should be providing training or directly helping with the implementation of the project, and only if the host sponsor confirms that their skills are not readily available locally. This is not intended for funding to come and see the project or attend the handover ceremony. Oh. Sorry, you were supposed to be on this screen. I'm somehow not, oh, you know what, okay, I understand. Okay, participants. This is, of course, where you tell us about what each of the partners will be doing for the project. For the most part, there doesn't seem to be too much trouble in describing what host partners will be doing, but some people do struggle with what the international partner will be doing to support the project, besides just giving funding. At a minimum, the international partner should be taking an active interest in the implementation of the project. A great way to do this is for the 2 grant committees to have a monthly or quarterly Zoom meeting. to discuss progress on the project. International Rotarians may have valuable suggestions for how to overcome project difficulties, and they can always provide encouragement. The other thing that the international partners should be doing is promoting the project in their local Rotary network. Of course, international Rotarians can have an even more active role, and they often do. Okay, step 8, the budget. The currency in your budget should reflect the currency in which the grant expenses will be made. If you click on the exchange rate in blue, you will see the official RI exchange rate for that month. For some currencies, we don't have an official RI exchange rate, so you just do your best to estimate what you think it will be for the project. Please keep in mind that global grant projects are approved in US dollars and paid out at the current official RI rate at the time of payment. To protect against issues with currency fluctuations, Rotarians may include up to 10% of the total project budget for contingencies such as currency fluctuations and unexpected price changes. If the contingency is not used for this protection against exchange rate, you can use it to buy other items for the project, but you would need to get those purchases pre-approved through me by just sending me an email and letting me know you want to buy those things. Some things to keep in mind about the budget. Please try to itemize the budget as much as possible. Grouping large amount of things together in a budget item is not helpful when reviewing. Second, make sure that your budget matches your vendor quotes. When I ask you for vendor quotes, and your budget should match what the vendor quotes say. You think it's funny, but it often doesn't match. Please note that there is a USD $1,000 cap on Rotary signage. Finally, please be aware that the only eligible publicity costs are for publicity required to support project implementation. Publicity costs, so what I mean by that is if you're going to do a health screening fair and you need to advertise the health fair so you can get people to come to it, that is for project implementation. Publicity costs to let the public know that Rotary has done the project are not eligible for global grant funding. This includes inauguration and handover ceremony costs. All of these costs should be paid for outside of grant funds. Funding, step 9, funding. This is where you're going to add the cash and DDF contributions to combine with the World Fund for your project. Couple of important things to remember in this step. You can include cash contributions from non-Rotarians. However, please remember that the cooperating org or beneficiary org cannot contribute cash to the grant's funding. Second thing to remember is that at least 15% of the total cash and DDF contributions must come from outside of the country. It can come from your international partner or any other Rotary club or district outside of the host country. And there is no minimum contribution for the host. Step 10, sustainability. Okay, this is the long section of the application. There's a lot of questions under this one. So it starts out by asking, describe the community needs that your project will address. This is where you're telling us what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. It's sometimes helpful to start out by describing what the project will be purchasing or paying for and how those purchases will be used to achieve the project goals. Keep in mind that when you are filling out this section, we will be looking for how well you analyze the needs of the beneficiaries, how well you involved the beneficiaries in choosing solutions, and how strongly you design the project to make a real long-term impact for the beneficiaries in the area of focus. Think about how all the pieces are going to work together to achieve the results you're looking for. The next question, how did your project team identify these needs? This is where you tell us the story of how you interacted with and involved the beneficiaries and other important stakeholders in identifying the goals of the project and involving them in the planning process for how best to achieve these goals. In this section, you should be describing in some detail the current situation of the beneficiary group that you are working with. You're telling us about the community needs, but to evaluate the strength of the project design, we also need to know what the beneficiaries currently have. What data did you collect to inform your strategy? This is the place where you kind of make your case. Okay, how were members of the community involved in finding solutions? Yes. What stakeholders did you identify as important to the project objectives? How did you involve them in planning your project? Maybe you also spoke with government officials or other NGOs or experts in the field. This is where you're going to tell us about that. How were community members involved in planning the project? The beneficiaries should be involved in identifying the most pressing issues and the best way to solve those issues. This includes the project design process and creates a sense of ownership for the beneficiaries, who will ultimately be the ones ensuring the long-term success of the project. You should be including beneficiaries in technology, equipment, and training choices. What will the role of the beneficiaries be in implementing the project? It's always good to have them included in the actual implementation of the project. Speaking of project implementation, in this section, the idea is to map out steps that will need to happen in order for your project to move forward. Make sure that you include training and other activities that will happen as a result of your project. It's helpful to understand that these will be loaded into your report at the end and used as benchmarks for project completion. Education and literacy are strengthening the ability of communities to provide basic education and literacy to all, increasing adult literacy, and by this we mean adults that missed out on becoming literate during grade school. So a lot of the times there's a little bit of a misunderstanding, and they think I will get applications for projects that are for college students, and they say, well, this is adult literacy, but this is not what we mean by this. We mean adults that are not literate, that didn't learn in school. And then we also want to reduce gender disparity in education. So all BELL projects should focus on specific educational outcomes. In basic education, this means reading, writing, math, and science. Technology and infrastructure improvements for schools are very popular as a grant type. Global grants can fund computer labs and infrastructure improvements, but the ultimate goal of the project must be improving educational outcomes. This means talking to the teachers about where they would like to see improvement for their students academically, and what kind of professional development training they feel will help them achieve these goals. Some things to keep in mind about technology projects. Community assessments should include a baseline understanding of the teacher's computer knowledge and how to use technology to support instruction. teacher training that specifically teaches how to use the technology and integrate it into the curriculum, lesson planning, instruction, or their evaluations. And of course, an operation and maintenance plan, and as well as a financial sustainability plan. Providing computer labs is important, but a strong plan for how that computer lab will be used to support instruction is vital for impact and sustainability. We do also language training projects. Language projects can be implemented at schools if the school requires those language courses as part of the curriculum mandated by the National Department of Education. And of course, we will want to see a plan to train the teachers on how to provide the language training. Another popular type is school tutoring programs. Tutoring programs can have a significant impact on students' learning achievements, especially when the programs are staffed with qualified tutors. The primary goal of a grant-funded project needs to be improving academic performance. We will also be looking for professional development training for the tutors themselves.
Okay, I know it's very tough for you. Okay, so let's stop at
in poor communities, developing opportunities for productive work, and improving access to sustainable livelihoods. And finally, building the capacity of entrepreneurs, social businesses, and locally supported business innovators. Okay, so what are the most popular types under this area of focus? We begin with vocational training. So there are two main types of vocational training projects. One directly funds training for individuals or supporting, or the other is to support an existing vocational training organization with new equipment. If you are buying equipment for an existing organization, the result of the project must be either that they are able to train more students or increase the quality of the training that they are providing. For both types of vocational training projects, you should conduct a local market survey to show the demand for the skills in the local economy, and there should be some demonstrated interest from training beneficiaries. If your project is paying for students to attend vocational training courses, at the end of the training, they should either be able to start their own business or be placed into a job placement. There is a wide variety of agricultural projects that we do. They are required to have some capacity building training. The goal should be to increase the farmer's income in the long term, and be sure to explain the gaps in knowledge and resources and explain how the project improves the existing system. Supporting or creating farmers' cooperatives and increasing market access are also excellent ways to ensure long-term success. The final type is social enterprises. Social enterprises solve a community problem and reinvest the profits back into the business. The community problem could be a lack of employment, or it could be something like a milk processing center to support local dairy farmers increasing their profits. These businesses have disadvantaged community members as the primary owners, and most importantly, when you submit an application for this type of project, you're going to want to have a pretty detailed business plan. You want to make sure that it's going to be financially viable as soon as possible. And then you're also going to want to provide training to build capacity in business management, because some of these folks may not have had that experience before. Basic education and literacy, a focus. We have recently updated these documents and they can all be found on My Rotary. Each document includes important information about each area of focus. They provide detailed guidance on the area of focus goals, details on what kind of community assessment information we're looking for in that area of focus, and key components of sustainability for that area of focus. Each also contain important coaching on best practices for specific projects. I really cannot overstate how important it is to look through these documents if you're intending to do a global grant project. There's so much information in there. It's coaching and a lot of helpful guidelines to help you get your grant approved easily. Okay, the environment is our newest area of focus. In June 2020, both the trustees and the board unanimously approved and a motion to add the new area of focus, protecting the environment. The area of focus officially launched on 1 July 2021, and clubs and districts are now able to apply for global grants in the environment area of focus. Here are some of the objectives under the environment area of focus. The first one is to conserve nature and biodiversity. The second is to mitigate climate change by reducing or avoiding greenhouse gas emissions. The third is to facilitate environmentally sustainable and adaptable livelihoods. And the fourth is to strengthen environmental equity by addressing environmental issues that affect marginalized communities. Since this is a new area of focus for us, we haven't yet started to see a pattern for the types of projects that Rotarians like to do the most. But the guidelines do have clear action goals. Let's take a look at these goals. There are about 8 main goals within the area of focus. The first goal is protecting and restoring land, coastal, marine, and freshwater resources. Examples of possible project types could include protecting and restoring land habitats, such as promoting reforestation, preventing deforestation, planting native vegetation, and removing invasive plant and animal species. Another would be protecting an endangered species and preventing poaching and the illegal wildlife trade. And finally, you could do a project protecting and restoring coastal, marine, and freshwater ecosystems. Goal number 2 is enhancing the capacity of communities and local governments to support natural resource management and conservation. Examples of possible project types would include developing peace and conflict prevention initiatives related to the management and use of natural resources, mitigating human-wildlife contact, training and educating communities in conservation and resource management to preserve, protect, and sustainably use natural resources. Goal number 3. Goal number 3 is supporting agroecology and sustainable agriculture, fishing, and aquaculture practices to improve ecological health. Creating awareness of and supporting ecological sound agricultural practices is one project type. Supporting sustainable fisheries and also promoting the use of traditional and indigenous knowledge in agricultural, land, ocean, and natural resource management. Goal number 4 would be addressing the causes of climate change and climate disruption and supporting solutions to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. This could include providing access to locally sourced renewable energy as part of a holistic intervention to mitigate climate change. Providing clean cooking technologies as part of a holistic approach to reduce or eliminate the burning of wood and fossil fuels that result in deforestation, degraded land, or increased air pollution. Supporting the transition to sustainable and efficient transportation through a holistic urban and regional planning, education, or infrastructure changes. Goal number 5 is strengthening the resilience of ecosystems and communities affected by climate change and climate disruption. Possible examples would include working with communities to plan for and develop strategies for dealing with climate-related events. This could be flooding, drought, or hurricanes, this sort of thing.
More people like to do.
The goal number 6 is supporting education to promote behaviors that protect the environment. Some examples of this project type would include supporting environmental education programming in schools that align with the local government curriculum, and promoting community-based environment education and environmental awareness.
This is good to do.
Goal number
Teach the
7
children,
is advocating for the sustainable consumption of products and environmentally sound management of byproducts to build a more resource-efficient economy. What does that mean? Basically, we're talking about community planning to strengthen composting, recycling, and repurposing of items programs. Promoting efficient food consumption by reducing food waste by local businesses could also be a project type.
These are all very nice projects.
And goal number 8 is addressing environmental justice and environmental public health concerns. Examples might include addressing adverse environmental public health impacts in communities through education, outreach, and advocacy, eliminating and reducing exposure to environmental toxins in homes, schools, and communities within vulnerable and marginalized populations, increasing equitable access to organic, healthy, and nutritious food for vulnerable and marginalized populations. So each area of focus has special concerns that need to be addressed in your community assessment. And the area of focus for the environment is no different. When completing a community assessment for an environment project, please be certain to consider the following questions. What are the greatest environmental threats to the land, air, water resources, and the ecosystem? List any cultural practices that are relevant to the project, such as agricultural techniques or traditions. What positive and negative environmental changes do you anticipate as a result of your project?
Process 4 years for the nursing student, it can be great because Thailand need a lot of those nurses to help, and that can be part of the prevention of the disease also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So global grant scholarships are reserved for postgraduate study. But depending on the course, it's possible that you could, if it was more of a professional development certificate, it's possible that we could fit that into a global grant. Please email me about that and I will be happy to advise you further.
ตอบไม่ได้
All right, thank you. So we proceed with the next.
Include making your project sustainable, conducting community assessments, planning effective projects, managing grant finances, and reporting on grants, and so much more. Districts can choose to offer the online courses as a way to get qualified, or they can choose a mixed approach where you have attendees take the online courses first and then attend a shorter in-person training to discuss district requirements and questions. So now that we've talked about district grants and global grants, this slide provides a little summary chart that highlights the differences between district and global grants. Understanding the differences can help you decide on which grant type is right for your project idea. This is also so you can see the differences are, for a global grant, the minimum budget is $30,000. For a district grant, there is no minimum budget. Funding is coming from World Fund, DDF, and cash, whereas for district grants, it's just DDF. You apply for global grants in the grant center, and for district grants, your district manages the process. Partnership is required for global grants, not required for a district grant. And sustainability and measurability, of course, are required for global grants, but aren't necessarily required for district grants. And scholarships district grants will give you a little bit more flexibility. You can give a scholarship to someone who is doing their regular college work rather than graduate or postgraduate. And they also don't have to be in the area of focus. Now I'd like to share some information about one of our newer grant types, district response grants. Disaster response grants. These grants support relief and recovery efforts in areas affected by natural disaster. Qualified districts in affected areas may apply for a grant of up to $25,000 based on the availability of funds. Global grants can be used to provide basic items such as food, water, medicine, and clothing. Districts that request help are responsible for determining the needs in the communities affected by disaster. They should work closely with local officials and communities to ensure the funding meets the most pressing needs. These grants are funded by contributions to the Rotary Disaster Response Fund. The fund can accept cash contributions and district designated funds, and it is a general disaster-related reserve. Contributions generally cannot be designated for specific events, although the trustees have made some short-term exceptions for specific disasters. For example, right now they have all donations made to the Disaster Response Fund at this time will go to Turkey and Syria for their earthquake. The Rotary Peace Centers program has a vision of creating sustainable peace by supporting a network of peace builders and community leaders dedicated to preventing and resolving conflicts around the world. Rotary has developed partnerships with 8 renowned universities that host the Rotary Peace Centers. The centers empower, educate, and increase the capacity of peace builders through rigorous academic training, practice, and global networking opportunities. Up to 130 Rotary Peace Fellows are selected each year to earn a master's degree or a professional development certificate. Since the Rotary Peace Centers began in 2002, more than 1,400 people have graduated from our programs and are working on peace and development initiatives in 115 countries. The Rotary Peace Centers is growing its program and has already added the first Rotary Peace Center in Africa in Uganda in 2020. The Otto and Fran Walter Foundation has pledged $15.5 million to the Rotary Foundation to start a new peace center in the Middle East or Northern Africa. And the Programs of Scale is a new grant that enhances the scope, impact, and sustainability of successful Rotary member-led service projects in our areas of focus. This is achieved by providing longer-term resources. This grant type empowers Rotary members to implement even larger scale, high-impact programs with experienced partners that benefit a large number of people across a larger geographic area. The Rotary Foundation will award one $2 million grant each year to a program sponsored by a Rotary Club or district working in strong collaboration with partners. It is a competitive process that requires a concept note and a full proposal. Applicants should be prepared to include a fully developed program design that is based on clear evidence and involves all the key stakeholders for successful implementation and sustainability. Monitoring, evaluation, and learning should be fully integrated into the program as well. Each grant will help these programs scale up over a 3 to 5 year period. We've awarded 2 of these grants so far. The first was Partners for a Malaria-Free Zambia. It's a malaria elimination program that aims to reduce severe malaria cases and death, particularly for pregnant women and children under 5. This is taking place in 10 districts in 2 provinces of Zambia. And then most recently, we awarded a grant for the Together for Healthy Families in Nigeria, fostering the health of mothers, newborns. The program is working to reduce maternal and neonatal mortality rate by improving health-seeking behavior and quality care for pregnant women. So we have a few updates. Some recent developments. The environment area of focus is one of our biggest recent developments. As mentioned earlier, Rotary has a new area of focus in the environment. In 2020, both the trustees and the board unanimously approved the motion to add a new area of focus. The area of focus officially launched at the beginning of last Rotary year. Clubs and districts are now able to apply for global grants to support environmentally focused activities. Last year, we awarded a total of 33 grants in the environment area of focus for a total funding of $1.9 million US. For those grants, 22 of them were humanitarian projects and 11 were scholars. Another exciting development that has recently occurred is an update regarding Rotaract clubs and Rotary grants. Over the years, Rotaract clubs have partnered with Rotary clubs to participate in Rotary grant-funded projects. Starting this year, Rotaract clubs can have direct access to Rotary grants. Beginning in January of 2022, districts had the option to include Rotaract clubs directly into their district grant spending plan. And since July of 2022, Rotaract clubs can apply for global grants to support their service efforts in their own communities or abroad. To be eligible to sponsor a global grant, a Rotaract club must have previously partnered with a Rotary club or district on a global grant-funded project and must also be qualified. Also, Rotaract clubs wishing to apply for a global grant must have a Rotary club as their co-sponsor on the grant. In general, Rotaract clubs are encouraged to begin their involvement in grants through district grants. Once they build their club's capacity to carry out grant-funded projects, then they can move on to the larger global grants. The terms and conditions for global grants and district grants used to be contained in one document. We have recently split them so that it's easier and quicker for you to find the information that you're looking for. Another set of resources that will be helpful to you if you decide to apply for a global grant are the Area of Focus Funding Guidelines. We've recently updated these documents, one for each area of focus, and they can be found on My Rotary. Each document includes specific information to that area of focus about the foundation's goals, what type of community assessment information is needed, what kind of sustainability information, and what kind of projects are eligible for funding. There's also additional information about monitoring and evaluation and scholarships and so much more. We have a number of resources available to help you take full advantage of grant opportunities. I encourage you to read the Guide to Global Grants. This is a helpful manual that includes everything you need to know about getting started with global grants. Rotary's website has a wealth of general and detailed information about each of our grant types. The recently refreshed Learning Center offers training resources on a wide variety of training topics, including, as I mentioned earlier, information to help you apply for foundation grants. I would encourage anyone interested in applying for grants to take the grant management seminar courses in the Learning Center. Community Assessment Tools is an invaluable resource for clubs and districts who are conducting a community assessment. And I think we have a few minutes for questions. Vocational training teams. Global Grant scholarships support international graduate and postgraduate study for a period of 1 to 4 years. Global Grant vocational training teams support groups of professionals to travel and provide or receive training. Now let's talk a little more in detail about some of the key features of global grants. As many of you know, all global grant applications require a community assessment. This is one of the first things a club or district should do to start developing a project. The assessment explores the community's strengths, weaknesses, needs, and assets. Understanding and analyzing these factors is essential to planning an effective project. By making the effort to involve the community and specific beneficiary group that you are working with, you can identify the most relevant opportunities for projects and maximize your ability to make a meaningful impact. Another key feature of global grants is the areas of focus. We have identified 7 specific causes to target to maximize our local and global impact. We call these our areas of focus. Through global grants, we help clubs focus their service efforts in the following areas: peace building and conflict prevention, disease prevention and treatment, water, sanitation, and hygiene, maternal and child health, basic education, and thank you so much for having me. I want to thank your district leadership for making this event possible. It was a lot of work, And DRC and the Karen did a lot of work to make this possible, so we all owe him some thanks. And I would also like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here and learn about Rotary grants. So let's get started.
slowly please
slow work on computer.
Rotary Foundation offers grants that support a wide variety of humanitarian projects, scholarships, and training that Rotarians are doing around the world. Our two main grants are district grants and global grants. We have 3 additional grant offerings, which are disaster grants and disaster response grants and Rotary Peace Fellows and programs of scale. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about each one of them. But first, let's get an idea about the scope of district grants and global grants worldwide. Here are some statistics from last Rotary year. Worldwide, we awarded 478 district grants for a total